to Let's Talk Health. I'm Dr. Dan Pavlik Jr. As always, we are sponsored by the Access Health and Wellness Association. In this week's episode, we are getting into a little bit into the world of insurance. And as you guys always know, I'm the one that works from the alternative care side, and trying to keep people as healthy as we can, and trying not to allow for that crisis care management, which I feel like we get stuck in, over and over and over again. So we've got a really good show today. Stan Flint is here from Rosen Hotels. Stan, welcome to the show. Stan's title, he is the principal of Rosensure for the Rosen Hotel Group. Anybody that's lived in Orlando or has been through Orlando has probably recognized the name Rosen. Pretty big name here in Orlando. So
yeah,
welcome to the show. Tell us a little background about yourself, and we got a lot to talk about here, but as always, I want to know a little bit about the guest. I want everybody out there to know a little bit about the guest.
Yeah, this whole opportunity it kind of came out of nowhere. About this time last year, I got a phone call from a recruiter. I had been in the insurance business, had been fairly successful in building agencies that were devoted to niche markets. And I got this phone call out of the blue from this recruiter, and they came via LinkedIn, which another thing that I wasn't extremely active on. And he says, Stan, I think I've found the perfect thing for you. And I don't know if he tells that to everybody, but it got my attention. I was like, I'm not looking for anything. But then he starts telling me this, hey, there's this opportunity in Central Florida with Rosen Hotels and Resorts. And I'm like, I've never been in the I think he has the wrong person. But then he tells me that they have this insurance practice and some of the things that they're trying to accomplish. And it really piqued my interest. And then when he said Rosen, Harris Rosen was the owner of it, it jogged my memory to it was a little, one of those, feel-good segments in like a news broadcast. And this had been 10 or so years before. It was talking about Harris Rosen and him taking over these two communities, Paramore and Tangelo Park in Orlando, that were very impoverished areas that had horrible graduation rates. And he goes and makes this commitment to them that he's going to provide a college education to them if they graduate college, kind of like the Michael Scott on The Office, except he actually delivered on the promise. And that story, when I connected the name with that story, I thought to myself, I was like, something's calling me to come down there. Like, this is an opportunity that's not just going to make me and my family's life possibly better, but it would create an opportunity for me to become a better person, just being associated with a gentleman like that. So I took the interview, and it only took one, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So, but my family was in Atlanta at the time. I've got 3 boys and a wife, and I didn't want to disrupt their school and get them out of school. So I asked them, I said, do you mind if I commute for 6 or 8 months? And they're like, sure. So they immediately started with, hey, we'll find you a relocation company. We can find you like a corporate apartment. And I was like, no, I'll just stay at the hotels. I was like, I feel like I'll learn a lot about the culture if I stay in the hotels. And I made a practice of that. Every time I came down, I stayed at a different property.
How many properties total?
He's got a total of, I believe it's 8. We've got them broken into what's called destination properties, and then we have the convention property. Shingle Creek is our kind of flagship. It's got the golf course. It's the newest property. We've got Rosen Center. We've got Rosen Plaza, and those are where you all would have a convention, or that's the bulk of our business. The destination properties are properties that are crazily priced for families. I would say middle-class families, so that they can come and still enjoy all the parks and attractions that Central Florida has to offer. And just seeing that, Dan, I could see that Mr. Rosen had a big heart, because these properties, if I gave you the addresses and you rode by them, you would agree, he could knock them down and build towers, triple the rate, go after a whole different audience and make a lot more money. But
which is the kind of the average builder's mindset.
But he doesn't operate that. That's not how he functions.
Well, and we know, and that's what we have to talk about. Obviously you stayed at these 8 properties, so you got to experience what he is doing, not only with the properties, but what he is doing with his employees.
Yeah.
Because I've known plenty of Rosen employees in the past, and they all have nothing but good things to say about him, because of the fact that he knows the importance of taking care of them, keeping them healthy. Why? So that they can work.
Yeah.
And a happy employee and a healthy employee is a productive employee, right?
Absolutely.
So you got to experience that.
It's shocking when you see we all see the rest of the world, how so many things seem really greedy and so profit driven, and we make money. We're not a charitable organization, but he does so many good things, and it, like you said, it is infectious. The goodwill, you see the employees wanting to do good, that kind of pay it forward mentality. He's created a culture like that, and I think that's why I would dare to say that we have the highest retention rate of employees in the hospitality industry, probably the world. We're at 90+% retention. That does not happen in hospitality, even though I run the insurance side, which you typically have pretty high retention, but in the hospitality space, you don't. And I said, I think it, if he were paying 2 or 3 times market for wages, you'd go, well, they're staying for the money, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
They're staying because of the culture, and what keeps them there is what drew me in. And he's just done a lot of, kind of perfect segue into what I do. A piece of what I do is the healthcare side, as well as the property and casualty side in the agency, and that mentality of him wanting just to fix it himself, like, I'll fix it. I'm as smart as anybody. I can fix this, or I'll try. That mentality he had of taking on Tangelo, taking on Paramore, building a portfolio of 8 really dynamic properties in Central Florida, he decided the next thing he wanted to take on was healthcare. And I believe we have just over 4,000 associates. He doesn't refer to people as employees; they're associates. And that insuring 4,000 people plus their dependents can become very expensive for the employer and the associate. And so he built a Rosen Medical Center to start with. It provided transportation to that center so people didn't have to leave work or take off work, made it with no deductibles and virtually no copays, and made it affordable not only for himself, but he made it affordable for that associate and gave him a higher quality care. And like most good ideas, if you're thinking properly, you don't want to keep it a secret. And so he did that for his employees. I think the running total right now is, based on national averages, our organization has saved our organization $500 million through our healthcare structure. And now we've taken it out to the marketplace, and we've got school systems. I won't mention anybody's names because they haven't authorized me to, but we've got large school systems, governments, other hospitality groups, manufacturing it fits a lot of industries. If you're of the mindset as an employer or a business owner that you want to pull some levers. And we were joking about people touching dials and messing with things. Yeah. Well, sometimes you can mess with things and you make them better. You refine it. And that's what we do on both the property and casualty and the employee benefits side, is we try to give that employer more tools to control their destiny. Because it is, you're a business owner, you understand it. you got to be personally responsible. And this is no reflection on any of the traditional group health insurance companies. They all do a good job, but it's off the shelf products. It's a product that's just, it's built and designed to suit the needs of most customers. Well,
it's never really been modified.
Never.
It's always just kind of just grown bigger and bigger and bigger based on the population and the need and the necessity for insurance, right?
And just they only will oil the greasy wheel. That's it. They're not actually fixing anything. Right. And in your industry, you my experience with chiropractors is they go to the root cause. They're not about slapping bandages over things. You don't get paid to slap bandages. You get paid to heal. Right. And they go to the root cause. And if our objective is to be personally responsible, we first fix our associates, which Mr. Rosen did. And then the next piece of that is let's start fixing pieces of our community that will allow us to serve them. And we've started that process. And we want to continue to build this out, giving those employers more levers and dials to turn. They know their population. They know their employee base. They know what their employee can and cannot afford. They know what they need to a degree. And then we build that plan around what their desires and wants are. And it generates tremendous savings. A tremendous savings. I've got a local employer here that we've had on our plan. Even I've only been here a year. They've been on our unbundled medical plan for this is their third year, and they hired a new HR person. And the HR person had always dealt with what we call the BUCAs, Blue Cross, United, so on and so forth, the traditional ones. And she says, I would just love to see what the way we used to do it. What would that look like compared to what we're doing here? And I was like, this is perfect. It was almost the perfect trap. I wanted to give her what she wanted, but I also wanted her to see what an absolute fantastic deal she's getting. And so we go out to the marketplace and get all the different the different carriers, and we get her quotes, we bring them back and try to mirror them as much to what she has currently as possible. Dan, each and every one of them was double. It was double. To reduce the benefit, put more restrictions on it, it was double. Mm-hmm. No one would buy a car that had half the performance and half the size and pay double. Yeah. You wouldn't buy a house that way. Nobody would buy things. But it's about education, having opportunities like this to get the message out, because there's only so many people you can see in a day and tell the story. And with opportunities like this, we can share what we're doing.
There can be change to the system. It's just people, the more people that hear about it, the more people that understand it, what really goes on. I mean, every day I deal with people that are frustrated, with the coverage of their insurance. And, I want to come see you whenever I can. It's like I don't want to be dictated to by somebody sitting behind a computer saying, I don't think that's necessary. I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
Shouldn't the treating physicians say what's necessary for that patient to keep them healthier, to keep costs down? Here's a good story for you today. Medicare, I treat a lot of Medicare patients, and they're pretty restrictive on chiropractors, right? Okay. But they're very compartmentalized as far as like chiropractors do the manipulation only. Physical therapists can only do the physical therapy. They don't pay for acupuncture. They don't pay for massage. And the medical primary care provider is the only one really that can kind of make the calls. So I have a lady right now that's Medicare that she's having some glute problems and, probably a tendonitis of the glute muscle that attaches to the hip area. And some of that resonates from the back. I need a little bit of help, right? Because I can only do the manipulation in the office. If I want to get an MRI done, it's got to go back to the primary care doctor. So she's got a really good primary care doctor that's holistic. And she said, well, you're doing the right thing by going to the chiropractor. She said, however, in order for you to get PT, we have to order a CT scan. Why? Like, why would you have to spend the money to order a CT scan, before going to PT? Which is the right route. This person needs PT, but it's like, I'm like, yeah, it would make sense that an MRI would be better, more diagnostic. Nope. In order to do the MRI, you got to do the CT scan. So there's like $400 right there that's being spent. That's probably not going to give us the info we need to where we're probably going to need the MRI anyways, just for her to go to PT, right? So like what you guys do as far as, once again, being smarter, trusting in your physicians that are seeing these patients and allowing them to say, we should do this, we should try this, we should try this. And if the patient is compliant with that, which I'm sure they are, they're listening, they're getting healthier, they're back to work, they're not missing time.
Yep.
So that just kind of a long-winded story about the frustrations that we deal with every day.
There's so much savings in what you just described. There's so much. I've found out that a lot of those tests that MRI, what the MRI, the reason they ordered the CT is the MRI found something. Do you know what it found? There's a pile of cash in here.
Yeah, true.
We've got to pay her, so let's run another test.
Yeah.
If you take the same person, remove the money from it, that level of care goes away. You don't need the MRI or the CT scan.
Yeah.
So a lot of these
right
imaging
to the PT,
things,
and you probably
fix the
between
problem.
chiropractic,
You fix
the
the
PT,
problem.
and even massage, you get it better.
We're not trying to keep people from getting care. It's trying to stop that wasteful dollar.
Yep.
And I understand hospitals can't build big, beautiful facilities without generating dollars, but there's a point that you can't bankrupt these medical plans. You can't bankrupt the associates. You can't take the employer to the point, unless you've got some motive behind it, which I don't know what that is, but you don't try to destroy each and every one of those. That's ultimately the hospital's customer. So you can bleed it, but you can't bleed it dry. And when you look at most of them, it looks like they're trying to bleed them dry. They're bleeding them completely out.
Who ultimately pays the price is the customer,
That's
the
it.
patient.
That's it.
Because, let's fork out another $400 a month, and,
I'll tell a boring medical story, too, about myself. It was in almost 20 years ago. So it would have been 2004-ish. Me and my wife had we had just gotten married. No, it's about 15 years ago. We'd had our first child, and we did an annual trip down to St. Simons, Georgia. Me and my dad and brother, and we'd ride motorcycles. And I had just opened my insurance agency maybe 30 days prior to that, and I was nervous about taking time off, but they begged me to go, and so I went. But I had to come back early because it had things to do, and I'm riding the motorcycle back, and I hit a big pothole at a railroad crossing, and my back felt really weird, and I had to continue to ride for 4 more hours. When I got home, I couldn't stand well, and that next morning, called my doctor, my primary care. I go into him. They want to prescribe some muscle relaxers and painkillers, which is a pretty standard issue thing to do when you got that, because they're going to run some tests, and they give me the MRI. I go to an orthopedist. He looks at my back. He's like, you got a bulging disc in between L4, L5. He's like, we can go in there, we can trim that thing up, and it's just touching a nerve. And I was like, wow. And Dan, had I had more time, I would have said, whatever it takes to fix it. If I'd had my business, if it had happened now, and I didn't know what I know now, I would have said, sharpen the blade. Let's go. Fix it as quickly as you can. Because I want to get back on the motorcycle. I want to get back in the gym. I want to be able to play with my son. And I couldn't do any of those things. But, it was God's providence, I think, that caused that pause. I was like, I don't have time to be down for surgery. I got to find another solution. So I go to ask this lady, I hope that she's watching this, is Ramona Warren. I believe she's married now and has a different last name, but she was up at Lake Oconee in Middle Georgia. And I just went in there to see her because her office was right across from mine. And I was like, I just walked in there, didn't know her prior. I'd never been to a chiropractor before. And I was at that point, like a lot of your patients are like, I don't know what else to do. I'll talk to a witch doctor at this point. I need some help. And I went into Ramona, and she spent more time with me evaluating, like having me stand, and she was kind of measuring where my fingertips hit, and then she goes and does an x-ray, and I didn't have to wait days for a reading and then get back. She pulls me in there after. She's like, look at this. She goes, look at your pelvis. She said, your pelvis is trying to like self-correct. You hurt that L4, and now it's doing something. Well, what had happened is that whatever that trauma was caused my pelvis to tilt, or the way I was sitting on the motorcycle, I don't know what happened, but the right hamstring shortens up because the pelvis is tilted, and it's thrown my whole body like a car out of alignment. Mm-hmm. And I was like, can you fix it? She's like, I can't fix it. Like, not right now. She's like, everything's too tight and inflamed. She's like, let me send you to this physical therapist. Again, right up the street. I go see this physical therapist. Paid on my dime because I wanted to accelerate. I knew if I was going to have to go back to the doctor, I was going to go through another loop of pain and wait, continue to take those muscle relaxers and pain medicine. I go to physical therapy. He gives me a series of exercises to do. I get the hamstring loosened up. I go back to Ramona. She does these light adjustments, and man, I'm back on my feet. It could have gone a totally different way. I could be a guy talking about his back surgery and how they fuse these two things together, and now I can't bend. It could have gone, and I'm back at 50 years old, working out in the gym with my kids, and doing CrossFit with my wife, riding motorcycles, doing all those things that we want. I mean, if you have health care, you want it to extend your health. Mm-hmm. It's not a patch. It should make you where you can live better and live longer. And the things, the treatment that I got were all common sense things. They weren't knives. They weren't pills. And I'm sure there's people that actually need surgeries, but I didn't need one.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, when you look at what we see, I mean, I'm friends with many orthopedic neurosurgeons. These guys do a great job, but they also understand when they need to do something, at least the guys I work with, because I'll text them and say, I think I can help, or I just need your opinion. I need your help. So they absolutely respect what it is that I do. But when you think about, when you look at the root cause of the problem, like if you would have had surgery at that time, that right hamstring would have still been shorter. Your pelvis would have still been off. And guess what? You were probably back in there a year later or 6 months.
And they would have had another surgery or something else.
So you look at those costs that would have built up. But, one of my orthopedic surgery friends, he said, I think it was like 80% of what they see in their office is non-surgical. Yeah. But the question is where is that 80% going? You know what I mean? Where is it going to? Who is seeing that? So the thing is like, sometimes it'll come to me. Sometimes it'll go to PT, but it's just like when you work in like a network of people, kind of like what you guys have developed, right? Mm-hmm. So you have this integrated network, and everybody knows their place and says, nope, we're going to try this, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do this. Guess what? Less cost, person gets better.
Yep.
Right?
The quality is so much better.
And, by the way, if we go through this stuff and it's still not better and we've done everything we possibly can, there's the surgeon.
Let it be the last resort.
That outcome will probably be better, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that integrated system, that's how I work. I mean, knowing the doctors, the chiropractors always get, shunned away when you send that patient out if you don't know that.
That's right.
Right? That's the problem that we've always had. That's the problem my dad had for many, many years. And when you have a network of people that you can work with and trust.
This is something, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but this is something that I've talked to some people about recently is, and please, if I am about to look really stupid, stop me. But
I'll just throw you out the door.
Okay, just throw it. Is being able to get a holistic primary care physician which would allow a chiropractor to be the kind of the first line of defense.
Yeah.
The first door you go into, they do an evaluation, and if they see it's something they can do, they take care of it. If it's not, they direct it to the proper place. For me, that seems like, and I know it's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have that feeling for it, but I think they don't have that feeling for a chiropractor is because they don't know one. I mean, had I not met Ramona out of an act of desperation, and I hadn't had the good experience I had, I wouldn't feel this way, but I did. And I've talked to other people that have had this very similar experiences, having chiropractors diagnosing disorders that are not in their wheelhouse. I think this could be a step in the right, taking holistic primary care, having a patient go to them first. They're going to get more hand-holding. They're going to get more consultation at a higher level than anywhere else they can go. Nothing against a doc in the box, but there's no relationship there. You can build, I built a relationship with Ramona. I've built a relationship with Dr. Lee and Alpharetta. Totally different styles of chiropractic, but the foundation of their care was identical. It was about, we're going to get you, we're going to heal you. They were healers. I know I sound like kooks calling them healers, but they really heal. Their business model doesn't work if they don't get that outcome, right? Well, you don't get paid to prescribe things.
Correct.
So
yeah, it's, everybody says, how come they won't let you guys prescribe medication? It's like, it's not that we were never allowed to do it. Our profession chose not to do
That's
that.
right.
There's people out there that do that. They can have that. We try to treat the root source of the problem. And if we can't, then guess what? We try to get help from our network of people. But you said a good point, because there are a lot of people out there with insurance that don't know that they can go right into a chiropractor. It's a primary care provider. So any patient, well, let's say 95% of patients with insurance can come to us first.
Yeah.
Before anything. And yes, you get x-rays done, cheap. You get treatment done, once again, very affordable. And we utilize our sources as we need to. And oh, by the way, we may be able to just get them taken care of
right away,
ourselves. And guess how much money that saves? There's data out there that shows a lot of savings for the insurance company through chiropractic care. It's not flushed out in the mainstream. It's just not there. But like I said, going back to what it is that you guys do and having all those sources, that's how the system, needs to start building itself.
To fix it. If you really want to fix it, it's like, I was talking to someone about, you hear people say, I want really good health insurance. And that's a nice goal. It's expensive. You can get it. It's out there. But wouldn't you rather be healthy? Like, back to personal responsibility, it's almost like Rosen starting to work on his own employees and then his local community, and hopefully we can span out nationally and have everybody enjoy this. But on health care, we've got to focus on personally being healthy. So you don't have to take the pills. You don't have to get the surgeries. You can lower the cost just by getting yourself healthy. And as a byproduct, you're going to feel better. You're going to be able to go ride the motorcycle, go fishing, play with your kids. You're going to be able to do all those things that we were designed to do, but it's something you have to take a focus on. And again, back to common sense, most chiropractors I've met are active people that exercise. They eat properly. Because they don't take a bunch of pills. So you can either exercise and eat properly, get a good night's sleep, drink clear water, all simple stuff. Nobody's paying a copay for that advice. That's why they don't give it. Correct. Or you can not do those things, and you can take these pills and mask those problems until they turn into greater problems.
Yep.
And I think I would choose this every day of the week. I get that there are people that can't do that, but that's a small group of people that can't at least attempt this. If you're in a wheelchair, you can be healthy. I've worked out with people in wheelchairs. I actually got to do a bike ride a couple years ago with a Paralympic athlete. He was a mountain bike. Oh, it was over in Destin, 38. He did a mountain bike event in a wheelchair. And he and I went out for a ride. He pops on his road tires. I'm on my road bike, and we go down the bike path. And I'm like, I hope this guy can keep up. He blew the doors off of me. He had no legs, and he was doing things to make his life healthier and more enjoyable. He could have chosen another pity path and not done those things, but he chose health over the alternative. And I think that having that holistic primary care provider, that meeting a chiropractor that's focused on health, because they don't get paid to prescribe something. I've got to fix you, or I've got to show you a wellness plan that'll get you back on your feet and get you happy again. And then you telling what I did to you will bring more customers into my door. Mm-hmm. That's your only model that works. And y'all survived for decades with that. When the health insurance industry goes, no, you're not going to be a part of the club.
You take care of the community will take care of you.
That's it.
So, and that's how our practice was built, and that's how a lot of chiropractic practices were built. And, once again, it's also respecting all your peers. I have full respect for all these different specialists that I work for, and we're all needed, right? But I just, the word getting out more, what you're saying, we just need to talk about it. Speak the good word of what it is that we do, right?
Yep. Don't keep a good idea a secret, ever. If you've got a good idea, share it. If you find a provider that you like, let people know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we have more access to information than we've ever had, but it's such a fire hose of information. It's hard for people to decipher what's good, what's bad. You've got people being rated online. I'd rather go, oh man, have you seen Dr. Pavlik? I think you'd really like him. That's the way to do it.
Still is the best way to advertise.
Local community, everything from our food to lumber to medical care to your education, everything needs to be done locally, because then again, personal responsibility, we all hold ourselves accountable. Absolutely. You don't do reckless things when people are watching. And when you're a part of community, like I've told Mr. Rosen, I said, this is the most ballsy move I've ever seen in my life. You've got 8 properties. Your whole business is like a 10-mile radius. I was like, if you screw up, everybody knows that quick. But it holds him accountable. It holds each and every one of us in that organization accountable, because we know that we're walking amongst our customers and the people that are coming to stay on property. They don't just come once. We've got people that have come for generations. Mm-hmm. So being responsible, being a part of your community, being a good part of your community, sharing those good ideas, I think is a big part. But with healthcare, we've got to try to get healthier.
Absolutely. I mean, one step at a time. Thanks for sharing, your information and what it is that you do and what it is that Mr. Rosen does. And it can work. It can work. Everybody's got to understand that. But trying to be healthier is the first step in the right direction, right? Just trying to understand how to be an advocate for your health, right? Yeah. What do we do? How do we move in the right direction? But I mean, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Likewise, I do too.
Sharing the story, and of course, Mr. Rosen's amazing person.
He really is a good guy.
A lot of people may not know this that are watching, but I had a patient. We've had here in Florida. We have had a couple hurricanes here recently, and the last hurricane, Milton, obviously was barreling towards the West Coast. Mm-hmm. So they were getting everybody out. So anybody like in modular homes and mobile homes, they were like, get out, do what you can, go somewhere. But You may know better than I, but Mr. Rosen took a lot of those people in, and
Yeah.
I think he only charged them like $100 or something.
Yeah,
Like it was next to nothing.
We brought a lot of people
for a phenomenal stay at a hotel, and one of my patients told me that. So if you want to pass that
No,
along,
I will. Thank you. I will.
They were grateful, and it just shows truly how much of a guy he is.
Good person and very humble. That's the thing about him is, I think he is this isn't the brag about Harris Rosen program, but I got to brag on him a little bit. It's just that humble way he has about him is so unique in the world we live in now. I mean, do you know where his office is at?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so we have a beautiful corporate office over on right off Destination Parkway, really close to Shingle Creek. And so I had the opportunity. It was like my first day there. I had to go meet Mr. Rosen at his office, and I just assumed that he had the nicest office in our corporate building. I had a beautiful office. Everybody else had a beautiful office. I was like, I'm sure he's got a big one up top, but he didn't. It wasn't there. They're like, no, Mr. Rosen's over at R1. So each one of his properties is R1, R2, R3. This is the first property this was the first property he bought. In 1974. He was a single guy, 34 years old. He says, I was the general manager, I was the security, I was landscaping, I was everything. And so, because he'd bought this hotel at the time, he's going to live in the hotel to keep costs down. And he lived in that hotel up until he got married, and he had built an office in that hotel. So it's just a room. It's like a room that you would have rented. When you go sit in his office, you walk into a hotel room that has been converted into an office. And it's 2 rooms. And he's got an assistant in one, and then he's in the other. And I don't think he would mind me telling this because it's the coolest thing. It's like going into a museum, man. It's the history of his life. And it's still in that hotel room. And he parks in the parking lot with the rest of the guests. I don't think anybody on that property realizes the man that owns all these properties is in that room right there.
Yeah, probably not.
It's crazy. It's so interesting.
I've heard those stories about
It's awesome
before.
though.
He blends in well
Yeah,
with
he
all
does.
the normal people. So
He does.
Well, Stan Flint,
Thank you.
the principal
Yeah.
for Rosensure for Rosen Hotels, encouraging everybody to take care of your health. And that's what I believe as well. That's why I do this show. I try to get, a lot of information on this show from all different walks of life in healthcare, both from the traditional side and the alternative side. But it just all comes down to, people understanding and taking better care of themselves. And hopefully the system will get better. So continue watching, and hopefully we'll continue to try to give you guys answers to the ultimate question of how do I stay healthy? So once again, this is Dr. Dan Pavlik Jr. with Let's Talk Health. We are sponsored by the Access Health and Wellness Association. Check us out online. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time.